Joining me now is Andrea Reyes, an immigration attorney in Florida. And I will note for you, Ms. Reyes, that the exception to being able to transport undocumented migrants is the governor, who has been authorized by this law to fly migrants from Texas, whom he's brought into the state and put on planes and flown them to all sorts of blue states. So he gets to do it. What is the impact of this law before it even goes into effect in July?
Thank you for having me. So right now we are already seeing basically the start of what's going to likely be a mass exodus of immigrants out of the state of Florida. And we understand that in the state of Florida, we are 21% of the state is populated by immigrants. And so when you have a state where 35% of entrepreneurs are immigrants, contributing a whopping $8.1 billion in total income to the state of Florida, when you have over 21% of the populations being foreign born, where you have over 500,000 U.S. citizens living with at least one undocumented family member in their home in a mixed status environment. When you have a state that is run by immigrants in the industries of crop production, agriculture, construction, roofing, taxi drivers, and maids and housekeepings, right? When you have a state that is run so much by immigrants, to say that this bill is going to affect nearly all residents, families, and businesses in the state is really a terrifying fact.
And, and it's interesting because you talk about the number of immigrant entrepreneurs in Florida. I definitely experienced that. I lived down there 14 years. You have a lot of people who own construction firms and restaurants. And these are people who are Latino, right? They are themselves. And a lot of them are Republicans and DeSantis supporters and probably voted for him. I want to read a quote from the same article that quoted you in the New Yorker. And this was a quote from a gentleman named Jose Rodriguez, and he's a priest in the Iglesia Episcopal Jesus de Nazaret Church in Orlando. He said that conservative Latinos are prioritizing abortion over immigration and other life-preserving issues. Rodriguez, who supports immigration rights, added, they make a good show of pretending that they care about immigrants. But at the end of the day, they worship at the altar of conservatism, and they'll turn their back on their neighbor. But what I've been seeing on these sort of TikToks that are putting up is people saying that a lot of people who actually voted for DeSantis and thought that he would be a good governor are actually waking up to the fact that this isn't helping them. Are you seeing that kind of reaction from Latinos?
So I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. We tend to be a little bit more on the conservative side as a whole. I do definitely believe, Jackson was a bit of a purple city, if you will, not quite blue like Orlando or what Miami used to be, prior to this past election. But I definitely think, so having this experience with, I've been doing immigration for 9 years, working in immigrations for 13 years. And I will tell you that particularly the Hispanic Latino immigrant, right? Because there's different types of immigrants.
Yes.
In Jacksonville, for example, we are a majority minority city. We have 6 to 7% Asian population, almost 11 to 12 Hispanic Latino, and 33 to 34 African American Black population. So we are actually a majority minority city, but our politics don't reflect that. Mm-hmm. But I having already seen a couple of election cycles here, right? What I can tell you is that the immigrant, particularly the Hispanic Latino immigrant, is not monolithic, right? They're not attached to one particular issue, and because traditionally people have, we come from countries where religion is a very strong, it has a very strong hold on our households. They tend to vote for things that don't necessarily protect their immediate interests. And that's something that I started a nonprofit called Nefida, that we're trying to work to educate the immigrant population on, like, this is the way that our political system works. This is how, when you come to this country, you got to leave aside your political baggage from your country. Unfortunately, a lot of these immigrants that come from, states that have been very polarized, where there's been a lot of corruption and collusion, they tend to vote a very specific way because they're trying to avoid having that here, not understanding how our Constitution works, separation of powers, federalism. So we're trying to educate the population with that as well, because we do see this to be a part of a lack of education more than anything else.
And there's also just the actual fear that people are feeling. I mean, if you're afraid to go to the hospital, then that's dangerous and it can lead to people dying. Are you concerned that people are going to be so fearful that if they don't leave, you may actually start to see real health crises in the state?
So you said it, you hit the nail on the head. I genuinely believe that this bill is economic suicide. SB 1718 is a sucker punch to Florida's future, its businesses, families, immigrant communities, and their loved ones. It's going to reduce road safety, and it's going to keep people away from the hospitals. What's very bothersome about this bill, right, is that it has all these provisions, but then it has ways to backpedal. So for example, for the hospital provision, once they report that information to the governor and the legislature, once the hospitals are required to submit those quarterly reports, there's actually a section where they're allowed to elect if the person declined to answer. So that's specifically written into the bill as a possibility. But if you ask an immigrant your immigration status at a hospital, and they're going to feel fearful to give that information to even continue seeking medical attention, despite the fact that you can decline to answer. So absolutely, immigrants by nature already don't report crimes.
Right.
There's a specific type of bill called, there's been legislative acts, but in 2008, right, in 2000, there was a bill to help immigrants who were victims of crime come forward to talk about criminal activity, and because they inherently don't. So they're afraid. And so now we have hospitals and we have police officers that are going to be acting as ICE officers, and it's going to create, what this bill was designed to do, which is fear mongering. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's designed to create fear and also to strip work sites of workers in the state with the most hurricanes in America, where they need people to do construction. It makes no sense. And it is also incredibly cruel. Andrea Reyes, thank you for coming to talk with us this evening. Cheers. Thank you. And come here.